What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Project Elevate. And today I want to talk about Season 4 and basically the uproar that's going on the Twitter timeline over, everything. So let's get to it. Let's go into some of the things. Let's talk about why some people are upset about the mode. And is it really bad, or is it just us complaining about everything? Let's get into it. All right, so let's kick things off with the level 40 reward. It's going to be Galaxy Opal Zach LaVine, and he, I think, is a solid card for level 40. A little bit redundant with the shooting guard small forwards that we've gotten in the game and whatnot. Could have used the center at this point of the game, but he's a solid card. When you look at his ratings, his badges, his SIGs, all that stuff, he's a really good card. Definitely a card that is on par with what a level 40 should be. Not going to be the best card in the game, but definitely not the worst. Somebody that is pretty usable and will probably be very easily attainable. As far as the rest of the season rewards, it's kind of par for the course of what we've been seeing. Now, we have recycled players scattered throughout. Thurl Bailey, who a couple weeks ago was heralded as one of the better budget cards in the game, has since been outclassed by that flash forward set, but it is what it is. Get some packs, ascension boards, other recycled players throughout this mode, and I don't like that. I prefer to see some new names into it, but let's be real, all these cards are just collection fodder. Nobody gets really used unless they fit into some type of squad builder or whatever it may be. A little bit more creativity could go into this, but it's kind of what we've been seeing, par for the course. All right, so let's move on to the trophy case, and that's what I'm seeing, all kind of polarizing opinion on Twitter. So I've completed all of my trophy case. I completed it towards the end of last season. If you haven't, now centerpieces are no longer in any of the modes. All the centerpieces and all the pieces within the centerpieces have all been moved to these specific agendas that you can do based on each team. So if you're just starting out, you haven't done any of these, I don't know if it's worth it. You can do it if you want, but I don't know if it's worth it. If you have, let's say, like one division left, so you had almost everything done, you were one opal away from finishing the whole thing. Let's see what this kind of entails, and I'm seeing that this is very controversial in the community right now. But I do want to point out that early on, we had a whole lot of talk about how it was very confusing to find out which pieces you needed for what. And it would have been a much better concept if you had to do a specific agenda and you knew exactly what you had to do to get each piece. So 2K has taken that feedback and directly implemented it in the game. But of course, here we are complaining about it. And honestly, that just makes me, it makes me frustrated beyond belief. Because the reality is that this entire agenda, while there's a few that are a little bit time consuming and one that is maybe a little frustrating for offline players, which is 3 multiplayer wins with 10 players from that team. I can see that being a little frustrating, but it's really not something that is a big deal. This whole agenda may take you somewhere between 2 and 4, 5 hours when you're like stacking certain things, as we've kind of grown accustomed to doing in moments of the week, all types of other different agendas, player moment challenges and stuff like that. So a lot of this is, it's no big deal, man. It's win 5 clutch times offline games, multiplayer Pistons points, 5 assists 3 times, 2 blocks. Now, and I want to point out that all these players that have a specific agenda can be purchased in the token market. So 2K kind of went that extra mile to make sure that these players didn't get inflated or became too rare. Now, one thing I can see this being a issue is you have to complete the entire agenda to get the centerpiece. So if you're only missing the centerpiece, you have to get redundant pieces. That is the only thing. The only way this becomes just way more user friendly is if there is one extra agenda within the group where you just have to do something a little bit more substantial to get a centerpiece, and you don't have to complete every single thing to get the centerpiece. That's the only thing I can really see wrong with this concept. But even after that, again, it's not a big deal. If you have 1 or 2 teams left, if you have 5 teams left, this is something you can do. Maybe 2 of these a day if you really want to grind. And if not, you set one out, do one every 2 days, and you're good to go. And my whole counter argument to this thing, we've become accustomed to easy centerpieces. all throughout last season, being in multiple modes, getting them from moments of the week and stuff like that, which they may continue to do, they may not, I'm not sure. But if you compare this to the grind of winning for, let's say, 250 triple threat offline games, going through unlimited, winning clutch time online, 100 games, getting through all the tiers, season 1 and 2, this is infinitely easier. It's just one of those situations where I feel it's like you can't win. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I've seen direct feedback from players, well-known voices in the community, where they've asked for pretty much this directly, and we got it, and there's an uproar. So it just boggles my mind. But let's move on. So the Lunar New Year event is the big thing for the whole season, and there's going to be basically 3 sets of these. So every 2 weeks, we're going to get different types of things. Now, Sean Marion is a takeover player technically, and I believe we're getting 10 of them throughout the 2-week period. So one every Monday through Friday day. And this used to be the Friday to Friday grind that we were just like, this is crazy, can't do it, it's too much. And it was ridiculously insane of a grind to get all those different wins in different modes. And now they're switched to just typical kind of like Tuesday type agendas, like that, something nice and easy, something you can get done in an hour if you just kind of like focus and stack things properly. Not a big deal. So that's a dub, man. Let's give them their dubs where it's needed. Here you have these event pieces that you're going to need to complete. Now there's some things in here that are a little bit, oh man. But for example, win 15 domination wins. If you've completed all dominations, it becomes a little redundant. Again, the fix to that is use, rookie dom to grind some of your agendas, or semi-pro dom, whatever it is this year, to grind some of those agendas rather than the fundamentals challenges and stuff like that. Get things done through there and you're good to go. You have 2 weeks to do these. So essentially it's kind of like, it's almost like split in half from what you had to do for certain wins. For example, before you had to do 35 triple threat wins in a week. Now it's 30 triple threat wins in 2 weeks, 15 triple threat online wins in 2 weeks. So you get a little bit of that, but it's more manageable. 8 unlimited wins might be tough for some people. Now, of course, the big win with all this is that we're getting a new reward player that can be attained somehow every single Monday through Friday. Now, the Zero Gravity set was championed as being one of the best events because you got a new player every single day. They tried a similar concept with the Christmas event. Well received. There was some complaints about some of the cards not being usable, etc., etc. And that was one difference with the Zero Gravity set, is a lot of those even budget cards and low tier cards were extremely useful. They're extremely juiced for being where they were. That also came at a much later point in the year, so we got to factor that in. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about, and this was a hot topic, and at the top of most people's wish list, was we get new players for completing each mode. They kind of split the line there. They doubled down on the recycled content, but they gave us players for finishing modes. So for example, in Unlimited, going through, you get this Diamond Evan Mobley at this tier here. Further along, you get a Pink Diamond DeMar DeRozan. And I've seen some people be upset at this, primarily because they spent a lot of MT to get this guy and now he's free. So that type of deal. But let's reframe this just a little bit. So on that front, if you locked in really early for Tim Thomas, you've been using Tim Thomas for almost 2 months. That is what it is, man. This is 2K's way of helping some other people have access to a card that's widely been unattainable. So let's give them that. From another perspective, let's pretend, at this level, 2K just handed you, a free 700,000 MT. You know what I mean? Because that's essentially what he was going for prior to this. Now he's changed in price, and I'm sure he will continue to drop, as more people attain him. But even at this point right now, he's still going for over 500,000, and that's pretty much, with an hour 22 left to go, he's pretty much going for the same amount. So if you're a grinder, you already had Tim Thomas, go get yourself a DeRozan and go put him up on the auction block, or swap out the one you locked in if it's an unauctionable one or whatever. Although generally those cards are auctionable. And then there you go, man. I think that when I saw this, my initial thought was, whoa, that's a freaking dub. You know, even though it's recycled content, it was one of the most expensive cards in the game for that particular reason. And 2K just handed you that. On the other front, some of these guys have gone way up in price, which tends to happen when Gatekeeper gets more widely available. So if you had those other guys in your collection and you didn't really want to keep them or lock in for Tim Thomas, it's a chance for you to make some MT as well. So I think that's a dub. And another huge change is that Limited now is available Friday to Friday. It's an all-week thing with different requirements. This week's requirements are 84 and below, and you can only use one amethyst, so it's a true 84 below, not, you know, 2 pink diamonds, 3 pink diamonds, plus a bunch of golds. So that's more balanced out. And I want to point out that this is available all week long. So what does that mean? That means that you can go into here, you can choose the trophy case players, teams, whatever that you need to knock out, and you can create a squad that is more balanced and go into Limited and not have to sweat it out in Unlimited. So take advantage of that if you need to. If you don't have high tier players from all these guys, which by the way, this is only 10 players. If it was 13 players, it would be tough. It's 10 players, so you can still use 3 guys of your choosing on the squad, you know. But take advantage of that, man. It's just an easy workaround, an easy way to get some of this stuff done right off the bat. Okay, I just want to quickly show you guys the rewards for each mode. You have Jonathan Isaac at 50 wins for Clutch Time Online, and for 100 wins, you have Hakeem Olajuwon. So again, 2 players that are highly regarded, one more on the budget side, and Hakeem was still over 100K before this came out, and still one of the top centers in the game. It was from Season 2. I'm not sure what's going on in co-op, but I'm sure there'll be something floating around Twitter pretty soon. Clutch Time Offline, you get a Morris Peterson, who was not, you know, not expensive. He was a budget card, whatever, not great. And then Ricky Davis, who, even though he's fallen below, you know, bid only territory, still regarded as one of the best shooting guards in the game. So you get access to him for free if you haven't had a chance to use him yet. And that's, I mean, I think he's on par with some of the names they could have thrown out there. And again, I think it still would have been better if they gave you a new name that's on that kind of caliber. I'm not gonna sugarcoat around that. I'm not gonna pretend everything is absolute epically beautiful, but that is what it is, man. It feels like they've done a better job of putting players in there that are more valuable with DeRozan, with Hakeem, with Ricky Davis, stuff like that. It's a better look than getting some players that are completely unusable. Triple that offline, you get a Ron Artest, who was not too expensive. He was probably about 50K. And this traditionally has been a mode that hasn't gotten a good player. I would definitely not grind 250 games just for Ron Artest, but that's what's there. All right, guys, and to wrap it up, I just want to point out some of the things that aren't as bad as they seem. A lot of it is just based on direct feedback that they've taken, even if that feedback is trailing the latest ever-changing opinion of the community by a little bit. These things do take time to plan and implement, but we have a lot of things that we were just like screaming for just like a month ago, and now they're here, and you know, the community's in an uproar. Now this definitely is a season where if you're caught up with everything, there's still a little bit something for you, because if you finished everything like I did, you have at the very bottom of this, you have this Larry Bird agenda. And for scoring 60 points with him in a game, you get some Converse weapons, Celtic green that you can, add to him. This one is crazy here. Score 30 points with Larry Bird 5 times, which is incredibly easy to do. And you get 5 picks, 5 Hall of Fame badges. And the badges in here are some of the best ones in the game. That's floating around on Twitter. You get 200 tokens, and you get a pack that has every single shoe boost in the game. So there's a lot of stuff that they didn't have to do this. The better option, I think, would have still been to update Larry Bird, give him a better jump shot, some better sigs. But this is a dub, man. This is a straight out dub. 5 picks, you're choose the badges that you want. And one of the things that I was seeing a lot was that we wanted to see an exchange for extra centerpieces, where it would be one exchange for a Hoff badge. So if you grinded a mode, there were still centerpieces stuck within the mode, and you had duplicate centerpieces. We wanted a Hoff badge exchange. That didn't happen, but the Larry Bird agenda did happen, essentially giving you five of your choosing, man. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty solid dub as well. Again, man, overall, it's kind of frustrating to see the constant complaining going on around. I'm not saying to not suggest ways to improve the mode, and granted, this season is kind of a catch-up mode in a lot of senses as far as a centerpiece part of it, which some of us were either fed up with or finished with. And we still have different pack drops coming. We have events going on for Galaxy Opal lock-ins every 2 weeks. There's a lot of stuff going on, so I just really don't understand what the uproar is about. But that's just my take. Let me know what you guys think in the comment. Thank you for watching. Until next time, elevate your grind, game, yourselves, and each other. Peace.